Hello there, you're watching Nightline with me, Anita Wu. News making the headlines. Government to look into monitoring and redeveloping old buildings. And Indonesia detains Vietnamese fishermen after high seas clash. We begin with this headlining story. All landed and multi-level properties at government housing schemes nationwide, especially those aged 30 years and above, will be monitored and inspected every 5 years. Housing and Local Government Minister Zuraida Kamarudin said this was provided for under the new National Housing Policy 2018 to 2025, which was formulated to ensure the safety of residents.
Dalam dasar perumahan negara memang ada program redevelopment. Jadi bangunan-bangunan yang berumur 30 tahun ke atas kita akan berikan tumpuan untuk redevelopment. Terutamanya rumah-rumah kos rendah yang terletak di tanah-tanah bukit, tanah-tanah tinggi dan tanah-tanah yang lembap dan sebagainya. Jadi ini tapi bangunan ini baru 28 tahun tadi. Jadi walau bagaimanapun kita akan mengkaji dan melihat, dan pada long termnya insya-Allah kita akan banci penduduk-penduduk di kawasan ini.
She was speaking to reporters after visiting the Taman Keramat Permai flats with Gombak MP Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin Ali on Monday. Zuraida said the mechanics of such a policy are still being worked out and that she will meet with state agencies to discuss a long-term plan on how to implement it. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Azmin, who is also Economic Minister, is supportive of the ruling, saying the redevelopment of low-cost flats will benefit the residents. Meanwhile, a technical report including recommendations for the cracks found in Taman Keramat Permai apartment building is expected to be submitted to the Selangor government by next week. Datuk Seri Azmin said there had not been any significant structural movements in the past 3 days.
Dan sekiranya siasatan mendapati struktur bangunan ini selamat untuk diduduki, maka kita jangkakan sebelum Ramadan penduduk dan pemilik boleh kembali ke unit masing-masing. Tetapi sekiranya findings ataupun dapatan itu sebaliknya, maka saya akan berbincang dengan kerajaan negeri dan juga pihak PKNS apakah langkah-langkah yang perlu diambil.
A former special officer to Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein has been arrested by the MACC on suspicion of being the mastermind behind the awarding of contracts involving the Defence Ministry. It is learned that the suspect, a Dato in his 50s, was arrested around noon on Monday at the MACC headquarters in Putrajaya after giving his statement. According to sources, initial investigations showed the suspect had received kickbacks from contractors for helping them in getting contracts worth millions of ringgit. This includes the supply of aircraft equipment valued at 1.8 million ringgit. MACC Deputy Chief Commissioner Datuk Seri Azam Baki, who confirmed the arrest, said the suspect will be remanded to assist investigations. Prime Minister Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad said a responsible leader can be likened to a doctor who has to sometimes make the people or patients swallow the bitter pill. He said in many ways managing a nation required a similar decisive thought process as that of a doctor where and when necessary. However, he stressed that he is committed to upholding Malaysia and never letting it down till his dying day.
As a doctor, it is incumbent upon us to diagnose what afflicts our nation. Once we are able to do that, we can then make our prescription and we will monitor the patient to determine the efficacy of our prescription. If after a reasonable period of time it doesn't work, we come up with another prescription which may be stronger or of higher doses.
To lead and manage his nation, then you as Prime Minister.
Tun Dr Mahathir said this after receiving the Asian Association of Management Organisations AAMO Visionary Leader and Nation Builder Award on Monday night. Police have kicked off probe on the Rome Statute Forum, organised at University Malaya last Saturday under the Sedition Act. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Muhammad Fuzi Harun said several reports had been lodged over the forum and police would be calling in several people involved, including the organisers, to record their statements. Among those who spoke at the forum was sociologist and veteran politician Professor Dr. Syed Hussein Ali.
Ada laporan yang saya tahu ada laporan boleh dibuat terhadap Dr. Syed Hussein Ali, itu saja. Kita bagi siasat ni sama ada di bawah Akta Hasutan ataupun lain-lain undang yang berkaitan.
Hours after the forum, two non-governmental organisations, NGOs, have lodged a police report at the Brickfields police station, claiming that a speaker had uttered words that evoked hatred against the rulers during the discussion. The forum on the Rome Statute was organised by civil society groups, including Patriot, Sisters in Islam, G25, ABIM and GERA. Apart from Attorney General Tommy Thomas and Professor Dr. Syed Hussein, other panellists were University Malaya constitutional law expert Emeritus Professor Datuk Shad Salim Faruqi and former student activists Ashik Ali Seti Alavi and Lim Wei Jiat. Meanwhile, police have opened an investigation paper under the Communications and Multimedia Commission MCMC Act in connection with the Sesi Teh Tarik 4 Putera Mahkota Bersama Rakyat program. This followed several police reports against Datuk Lokman Nur Adam.
Bila siasatan dibuka dah tentu kita kena ambil statement dekat dia. Jadi kita tunggulah. Kita akan siapkan siasatan ni secepat mungkin.
On Sunday, the Selangor Raja Muda's office denied the involvement of Raja Muda Selangor Tengku Amir Shah Sultan Sharafuddin in the Sesi Teh Tarik 4 Putera Mahkota Bersama Rakyat event. Pahang Regent Tengku Hassan Al Ibrahim Alam Shah Al Sultan Abdullah also denied his involvement in the programme. The Kuala Lumpur High Court has dismissed Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak's application to strike out the charges in his corruption trial. Judge Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali ruled that the charges against the former Premier were not structured in a way that could mislead or prejudice him to the point he could not put up a proper defence. Last Friday, Datuk Sri Najib's defence lawyers argued that the charges could prejudice the case as they lacked clarity and clashed with each other. DPP Datuk V. Sitambaram replied that the charges were not vague, as it should be read together with supplementary documents furnished by the prosecution. He added that Parliament created specific laws for different crimes, so it was fair to bring charges under each law. The court also said that Datuk Sri Najib's trial relating to 42 million ringgit of SRC funds will continue through Ramadan, though his One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB case may be postponed. During the Muslim fasting month, the trial, which will commence at 9 a.m, will end at 3:30 p.m. And on the 10th day of Datuk Sri Najib's trial on Monday, the Kuala Lumpur High Court heard about one of the former Prime Minister's bank accounts balance, which peaked at 1.9 billion ringgit in 2013. This was confirmed by witness R. Uma Devi, the bank's Jalan Raja Chulan branch manager, while under cross-examination by Datuk Sri Najib's counsel, Harvinderjit Singh. She said this when Harvinderjit asked about several transactions, including procedures in reporting large amounts of transactions to Bank Negara Malaysia, BNM. The bank manager also said that in 2012, the balance in the account amounted to 756 million ringgit. Umar Devi also told the court that an SRC International Sdn Berhad subsidiary, Gandingan Mentari Sdn Berhad, was flagged as being a high-risk account and subjected to closest scrutiny. She said risk can be computed based on certain factors and categories of business. The hearing continues. The government is currently in the final phase of deciding the strategic partner for the third national car project. Entrepreneur Development Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Rezwan Mat Yusof said the partnership, to be inked soon, would be announced by Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. The project would be private sector driven and would not use government funds, he stressed, adding that the ministry's role was just to help the project gain traction. Datuk Sri Muhammad Rezwan added that so far 145 local vendors had shown interest in the project, and the type of car would be an extended range vehicle. He noted that Malaysia had the expertise in building cars as well as technological advancement, and the automotive sector was more open now.
Catch the auto segment every Friday
Coming up after the break, a couple remanded over alleged abuse of power. Details when we return. Welcome back. The Minister of Communications and Multimedia, Gobind Singh Dio, said that mobile journalism is capable of fulfilling the need for fast and widespread dissemination of news and information. He said in the context of the world without borders, fast and widespread information dissemination was vital to quench the public's thirst for information. Speaking at the seminar on mobile journalism, Mojo, on Monday, Gobind said the use of smartphones has encouraged the production of creative content across innovation and digital platforms. However, he cautioned that the dissemination of information and news should not compromise journalism ethics and standards. Following that, the minister said he had proposed for the Tun Abdul Razak Institute of Broadcasting and Information to collaborate with the Information Department and Prima to organise a journalism seminar to expose reporters to the new methods and mechanisms in news reporting. The two-day seminar is attended by 165 participants from various agencies and departments under the ministry. In Terengganu, a State Drainage and Irrigation Department, or DID, assistant engineer and his wife were being held to facilitate a probe into a case involving abuse of power over several projects since 2015. The DID officer was remanded for 6 days, while his wife for 5 days. The remand order was issued on Monday by Kuala Terengganu Magistrates and Sessions Court Assistant Registrar Rosita Mat Saad. According to sources from the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, the married couple were believed to have abused their contact's contractor licence to secure various projects. The total value of the projects from 2015 till 2018 is still being tabulated. The assistant engineer is said to have an interest and is responsible for monitoring all related projects. Meanwhile, the Putrajaya Magistrates Court, a Datuk Sri and a Datuk were released on bail after being in remand for 4 days. They're being investigated for allegedly bribing enforcement officers of a ministry involving thousands of ringgit. Magistrate Shahwira Abdul Halim allowed the 49-year-old female Datuk Sri, a chief executive officer, to be released on a 40,000 ringgit bail with one shorty, while bail for the 55-year-old Datuk, the company's advisor, was set at 15,000 with one shorty. The duo were ordered to report to the MACC office once a month. In Sabah, police said that a woman believed to have been travelling in and out of Sabah as a drug mule was nabbed in Sandakan last week. The suspect, who is a foreigner, was found with a box containing shabu worth about 380,000 ringgit. Sabah Police Chief Dato' Omar Mama said the 40-year-old woman has been remanded until April 30th to assist in the investigation for drug trafficking. Police are also looking for her husband, whom they believe has gone into hiding. The Securities Commission Malaysia SC is cautiously optimistic over a possible increase in Sukuk issuances this year. According to its Deputy Chief Executive, Datuk Zainal Islan Zainal Abidin, there is the possibility of Sukuk issuances picking up over last year's level, with there still being requirements in the market.
Too early to say, but I think the first quarter is, as I mentioned, there have been a stream of new issuances or new applications, so that which hopefully will follow with issuances soon. But as you know, the global conditions are also still quite volatile, so it is perhaps too early to say now whether it will be better than last year or not. But we are optimistic that it should be a fairly good year for fundraising.
He added that there are also some mega projects to be initiated soon and which would demand Sukuk issuances. He told reporters on the sidelines of the SC World Bank IOSCO Asia Pacific Hub Conference 2019 on Monday. Malaysia's government and corporate Sukuk issuances increased to 199.9 billion ringgit in 2018 versus 168.68 billion ringgit the year before. Of this, 72.68 billion ringgit was issued by the corporate sector, which was lower than 2017 Sukuk issuance of 87.65 billion ringgit. Media Prima Berhad's strategic collaboration with Inbols Technologies is set to beef up the media conglomerate's rapidly growing digital platform. Its television network's Chief Executive Officer Johan Ishak said the move is expected to further expand the reach of Media Prima's popular digital portal, Extra, nationwide.
Dengan adanya collaboration dengan Inbols ni, kita dapat sebarkan lagi artikel tu, spread it around across the country lah. So it's a good platform untuk bukan saja orang nak kumpul reward melalui Inbols, but also untuk spreadkan artikel-artikel dalam extra.com.my.
Johan said this after signing a memorandum of understanding with Inbols Technologies Chief Executive Officer Sean Zain in Kuala Lumpur on Monday. He added the strategic partnership will also help realise Media Prima's ambition to be a leader in the local digital space by churning out popular content to meet the rising demand in the segment. Also present to witness the event was Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation MDEC Chief Strategy Officer Datuk Fadli Shah Anwar. Next, Bangladesh kills 2 suspects linked to 2016 Dhaka cafe attack. Stay tuned. Onto the foreign front. An Indonesian Navy vessel was rammed by 2 Vietnamese Coast Guard ships near the South China Sea as it moved to intercept a boat suspected of fishing illegally in its waters. It is understood that the Navy subsequently arrested a dozen Vietnamese fishermen after the high seas clash. According to a Navy spokesman, Lieutenant Colonel Agung Nugroho, the incident occurred at Indonesia's exclusive economic zone at the North Natuna Sea on Saturday. Nugroho said the 2 Vietnamese Coast Guard ships had tried to prevent the apprehension by ramming its vessel, causing damage to the hull. The incident also caused the fishing boat to sink, possibly due to an accidental collision. 2 of the fishermen escaped detention by jumping into the water and were picked by the Vietnamese Coast Guard, which then fled the scene. 2 years ago, Indonesia changed the name of the southern part of the South China Sea to the North Natuna Sea in a bid to show its sovereignty in the waters. The moves have prompted criticism from Beijing, whose claims in the sea overlap Indonesia's around the remote Natuna Islands. Over in Indonesia, the death tolls from flooding and landslides in the southwest province of Bengkulu has risen to 29 people, with dozens more still missing. The disaster also forced more than 12,000 people to evacuate their homes. According to local officials, the hardest hit area was Bengkulu Tengah district, just outside of the provincial capital, where 23 people were killed along with hundreds of livestock. Hundreds of buildings have been damaged, along with roads and bridges, with 2 districts cut off by landslides, hindering efforts of search and rescue teams and aid workers to reach the affected areas. Despite the water receding in some areas, authorities have warned of the risk of disease spreading due to the lack of clean water. Landslides and floods are common during the monsoon season between October and April, when rains lash the vast Southeast Asian archipelago. Bangladesh security forces raided a suspected extremist hideout in Dhaka on Monday, killing at least 2 militants. It is understood that both militants were linked to a militant group behind a deadly cafe attack in Dhaka in 2016. According to authorities, police commandos were met with gunfire on arriving at a house in the capital's Bosila neighbourhood after midnight. This was followed by an explosion which demolished the walls of the house. Authorities added 3 people, including the owner of the house, had been detained for questioning. Monday's raid came after police received information about the presence of suspected members of Jamaat-ul-Mujahideen Bangladesh, the group that carried out the cafe attack.